Well, let me open up some files here. Let's see what we got here in our files for the because we were gonna go through each chapter, like chapter 1 and 2, and then get Shocky's feedback on that, and then go like sections at a time because it's so thick. And some of the comments that we've gotten back are to try to be more specific because it was so broad and open on what's going on there. And the first couple chapters seem pretty, to most of the commissioners, seem pretty basic and straightforward. And unless Shockey had any suggestions on changing it, we didn't really have a lot of feedback on, how to make it better or change it. But you might,
No, I mean, one thing I was going to suggest is if there's things that you guys for sure want to point out to Shockey, at least in those first 2 chapters, sounds like we're close with them on a contract. So once they agree, hopefully in the next couple of days, then the next thing Amy and Pat and I can do is say, hey, here's the initial comments, now that it's signed, let's get to work quick. It speeds things up a little bit, but we can kind of get them working on things so the next time they're out here, they're up to speed. And it sounds like maybe those first 2 chapters aren't the most intensive change proposes from you guys. So
No, that's, I would suggest not to spin our wheels with them on the first 2 chapters because it's pretty simple.
Yeah, we seem that, that's pretty straightforward.
And I agree with you. I think there's some things that because we've talked a lot about community involvement, and they had some items in their proposal that addressed community involvement. And I'd like to make sure that they get moving on that right away because I think people in the community know that we're trying to get this ball rolling. And I have a lot of people asking me, well, so what's happened? And so I think that the quicker we set up those discussion sessions or whatever, that would be good, not only for us, but probably the city council because they've talked about it too.
okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys has stood out to you as a priority? And I guess it sounds like maybe we don't have a lot in the first 2 chapters, but going after that you think you'd like to hear Shockey's input on first, is we maybe give them a early to-do list in preparation for the first time they're out here.
The only thing I can think of is what is the new. I mean, we've some of us have gone through this before, and so there was different ideas as far as how you wanted to lay your city out or how you wanted to design your city, and so what are the new concepts that are coming out because it's obviously changed in the last 15 years from what we looked at and what we were thinking about then. So I guess my question would be is what is the new concepts that are coming out that we need to be looking at that's different than how we looked at it before. What are the trends that are going on?
So, and some things are popping in mind, and you can fill in here too, like Cindy and Rodolfo and Mary, Troy. But so some things that popped up over the last couple of years. I know some of the residential rezoning, like the plan zoning, the RP1. There were some comments from commissioners and the public that, well, maybe that's because we like the planned, zoned for residential, right? Single family residential, but it was a lot of comments were, well, maybe we need something more of an estates planned rezoning versus just the RP1 because it was too small. And there was a lot of folks that wanted maybe something in between there. Even some commissioners, I know Roger brought that up. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So because we had the R1, which everybody was worried about. Okay, you can put modular homes on there. So they're like, let's go with the RP1. But then some of them felt the plats were too small, right?
So are you
something in between?
So still a single family, but planned, and also planned on a larger
right.
Because RP1 does tend to, and Amy, right? They want to use RP1 in the slightly narrow lot usually as it comes. I feel like it comes in a lot So
Right.
you want
Now-
to see
now-
plans still, but wider lots.
Now, is that because there's a universal definition of what an RP1 is? Or is that because it's our definition?
It's, RP is just, well, you can probably answer it better than I can.
Go.
RP is just, is residential planned. And our guidelines, we,
We can define what
But I think it's
residential
defined by
plan
the
is.
city, define that.
our guidelines, we set years back as, we didn't want anything smaller than, was
Right.
it 40-foot frontage?
Yeah, yeah,
So, and that was one of the things that Pat brought up,
yeah.
was maybe now on this go-round,
We changed the
we wanna
definition.
change that and say, we don't want anything smaller than a 50.
Or you have a totally new rezoning that's a little bigger between that, right? So it's not-
And right, we could put in a different zoning. Or maybe we only want an RP1 with a 40-foot if it's abutting the railroad tracks. I mean, if it was gonna go in a certain area that's abutting something that's less desirable.
Well, yeah, and
Well,
so,
see, I agree with that. I think that's one of the things that we need to ask the
Shockey.
Shockey is how do we redefine some of these? One of my pet peeves, quite frankly, is that the streets are too narrow. 24-foot streets. If you have somebody park, two people parked on each side of the road, you can barely get through the street,
You're right.
you know?
That's right.
So why? I mean, and to me, if you extended it another 2 feet, it would make it a lot easier for people to get through some of the neighborhoods.
It all comes down to money. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
it
mean,
costs more.
right?
Costs
because-
more, it's a
because you could-
wider
they could-
street.
a developer could bring an RP1 and make them 80-foot wide lots if they want.
Sure,
But they're trying to get as much density as they can to get as much money, to make as much money as they
Sure.
can. So they're looking to get the smaller lots, the more houses they can get in. But an there's nothing that says an RP1 couldn't be an 80-foot lot.
There's nothing that says it cannot be just normal residential.
sure.
And the RP that just gives us, gosh, years back, we always said, if we give you an RP, we're scratching your back. What are you going to do to scratch ours? And it was, we're bringing you in this, we're bringing this to you. And we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
We don't have anything that I don't know. We got hungry for development after we were shut down. You know, we doubled the land size of Spring Hill at one point, and then we shut down, and now we're back up and rolling again. But we're gonna see some back off here again. I think. You know, I think that we've got to go back and start thinking outside. Me personally, after as many years as I've sat here, I think we've got to go back and start thinking outside of the box and asking for some things from developers. No, they don't want to give it, but
What, and
well, yeah,
they
no,
also don't. They
that's
also
the way
come
I
to
look
Spring
at
Hill
it.
for a reason.
Yeah.
You're coming here for a reason.
well, and you've heard some of the developers, well, I would have just zoned that R1 if you were gonna, ask these requests from me, right? Because R1, they don't have to come in front with a site plan and all that. They don't
That's
have
right.
to show you anything really. You can put whatever you want on there. So maybe we need to have more restrictions on the R1 or change it. In addition to adding something RP1, between RP1 and R1, something bigger, like an estates planned district, right? So that,
Well, I mean, that's the way I feel about it.
yeah,
I mean, you need to look at restrictions that makes your community look better.
And-
Not
and-
just a hodgepodge of,
yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the HOA
That's right.
rules are the HOA rules. But
yeah,
I have set, now that I've gotten switched from elementary to the high school, I have sat and listened to so many of the kids tell me about how they jumped the fence, quote unquote, into the HOA
Yeah.
swimming pools.
yeah.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we need to be making those pool restrictions a little bit. There's nobody on guard there.
No,
We're making sure that they can't jump the fence and get into the public pool. Why are we allowing them to be able to jump the fence and the HOA do nothing about that? Tell me that the city's not going to get slammed with a lawsuit on that one day when that happens, that somebody drowned in that pool? Somewhere there's got to be some better restrictions on what they're putting in on
sure.
fencing or something on those pools, in my opinion. I mean,
or other forms of security.
yeah, something has
Like
to
in,
get,
in ours, we don't have cameras on the pool. A lot of us has been asking for cameras because things happen and nobody knows who did it.
That's right.
What do they have, just chain link fences?
Well, and we,
Yeah.
Right now?
yeah, we had a
A
problem.
little better than chain link, but.
We had a problem too in ours last summer. There was a lot of, some of these high school kids or maybe young adults were inviting other young adults that were just their friends over, and they were playing music real loud and being obnoxious, and we had trouble. We had a lot of trouble with them.
well, and I know that that doesn't become our problem, but it does become our problem if the city is gonna get put into a lawsuit with it.
Right, right.
So maybe those, I mean, those are not things that we ever think about, but those are maybe things that we do need to start thinking about, that we start asking for tighter security in those type of places. For years, we harped on lighting, okay, well, we've got the lighting taken care of. We're harping on, we've gotta do something, I know it's been my soapbox, we've gotta do something about the tornado shelters. I'm not gonna.
That's actually public safety. You know, if a kid jumps over a fence or something, you know, shame on the parents. Maybe we should go to them. And kids are going to be kids.
I understand that, but at the
So
same token.
there are fences up around them.
They are,
Yeah.
but there's
So,
no
I
reason
mean,
we
what-
can't ask them to put up security cameras or taller.
Most of them
fences.
have security cameras
But they're not.
for their own protection.
Not what I'm hearing at school.
Well, I mean, you know, the other thing is, and I'll just interject. I apologize for being late, but having testing done. So the other thing I'll just interject
Stuff
is
dinner was good.
I really didn't get to eat. I just came straight. So.
I'm just kidding.
No, I appreciate it. You know, I guess that all we hear from people is to be able to sway the vote, is the way I call it, is safety of children, safety of this, safety of that. We can't protect the world. What we need to do is look to see the direction and the growth patterns that our community wants to have. And I know I came in late on it, but we're talking about the larger lots. Look, if larger lots would sell, guess what, guys?
They'd be building them.
Exactly. So you can't force a market up on private sector. That won't work.
Well, and you can't keep somebody from
You know-
selling their land.
No, and I'm not here for an economics class, but I will tell you that there's a lot of communities out west, actually up north as well, not only in the state of Kansas, but Iowa, Nebraska, and everything, that have gone in, purchased land, developed it how they thought the whole thing should be, and guess what? They're giving the lots away. If you'll build on it, they'll give you a lot. Because it just doesn't work. So what I look at, and you guys, you know, this is your community, so do what you feel is necessary and that the community wants. And hopefully we'll get a lot of feedback from the community. But to try and force, if you do want larger lots, and that's the direction the community wants to go, then that's what we do, in, you know, under you guys' guidance and all. But just be ready for a huge slowdown on residential sales. You know, it just, well, and land and everything else. I just don't think, and I know for a fact that if larger lots would work, the private sector would be building them. I do appreciate all, you know, and I say this, and then one of the council members said something too in the meeting, but, you know, we have an awful lot of county residents that come in and talk about their large lots, and that's what they want, and this and that and everything else. Well, that's fine. I know that we want to be neighborly, and I know all that, but they also don't pay for police. They don't pay your fire. They don't pay your streets. They don't pay anything to deal with the city. And so, yes, we want to be neighborly. We want to make sure the streets are correct in their area and things of that nature. But you know, it's not butting heads or anything else. It's protecting your community. That's what you're protecting, and that's what we're here for on that. Fences, yeah. I mean, I do agree to a certain point, but when does it become dictatorial? I do agree on safety for slab homes, you know, a safe shelter. You're protecting a whole bunch of people, you know, whole families and all. If some kid climbs a fence at a pool, well, shame on that kid. And you know, you've done the best you can do. That I guess, you know, we could change the code and put razor wire, and then guess what? That'd be all over Snapchat or whatever it is. I don't know.
Please don't do that for my sanity, for defending you all.
So, but you see what I'm saying. I think it's a waste of your good brain power to worry about that. And
I'm just saying, it wouldn't hurt to suggest they put in cameras at the pool.
at
At a,
Any pool.
any yeah. Well, we got cameras. They don't work.
At the aquatic.
Is that
I suggest you fix them.
well? No, we just put them in. That's all we ask for. Walk that gray line. No, joking, you guys. But they don't work sometimes. So,
don't work.
but it's not that big a deal. We have enough of them. If that's a requirement that you want to see on a site plan for each and every pool, that's where we need to address that.
I'm just saying, those are the
And-
types of things that can be, going back to the lighting, when we were having all the lighting trouble, we started saying you gotta shield the light, and now we've got that passed.
Pretty, yeah.
So I'm just
Actually,
saying, there's.
Jason's done an excellent job. Matter of fact, of shielding. You know, I call him and he gets it taken. No, honestly, you know, he really
But I'm just
has.
saying, there's things like that that you can do that just, well, it helps the police department for one, gives, if they haven't filmed a pull up.
Oh my gosh.
Don't you do it.
And you know, my child is going to get run over by a bus that's going down the wrong side of the road because
They
we
might.
didn't put a sign up, and
They mind.
or the sidewalk's too narrow.
Well, we could talk about the roundabout thinking.
No, well, it was addressed.
Come from.
It's coming from ground there. It has been addressed by the governing body. So
I just,
anyway, no, it's well every morning it's icy.
it
you
is,
know,
I
so-
slide on it.
So, well, yeah. But no, if that's something though that we want to look at, we don't really need, I mean, we'll put it on our checklist to make sure that we tell them. But remember, each site plan is its own independent. And under a site plan, you can ask for almost anything. Because the site plan is there. Usually a site plan is like a planned district. You know, most of them don't meet the setback requirements, you know, signage and things like that. So, yeah, we'll put it on the checklist and say, look, you have to show us that, you know what's funny? Here's what's funny about it. Not one person has ever complained about the storage, use, placement, or anything of chlorine. Is there exhaust fans in there? You know, that's your true, that is your true public safety stuff, guys. That's what we look at.
Yeah, I worked a summer in college as a pool boy for an apartment complex, and
It's,
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I learned it wasn't any good ventilation.
You bet. And
Off your-
it's so funny because I hear and people talk to me and they'll say, oh my gosh, the police can't see and blah, blah, blah. Well, if somebody goes in there, just a worker, and the ventilation's gone off, and it can immediately kill you. Because a lot of them are using chlorine gas in those. So those are items that we kind of laugh about actually at community development, because those are things that we look at that really make a difference. You know, I mean, as far as public safety wise, police officer going by shining his light, you know, that's all great, but 2 minutes later they run around the corner and back up to whatever they're doing, you know. So we can look at each and every one of those items at any time on a site plan.
okay, you and I had a conversation. How do we address the different? I'm not sure how do we get how do we address the different home valuations that are needed?
Right. So yeah, it's a real tightrope to do.
I don't think we're there.
No, we're not. But I will tell you that here. Well, did we get that one in tonight? So here tonight, under discussion, we will address one of those valuational areas. Now, it's not single family, but it does serve a need. The city is trying to, or the administration is trying to address that, as well as the governing body, on some of the programs, RHID. Now, my opinion is, which sometimes it's not worth listening to, but my opinion is that we can only do so much RHID. Because I'll tell you, an RHID, you do not receive real estate tax revenue for, well, luckily, it's 18. It can be up to, it's either 22 or 25 years. So that's a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, some of these programs, to get it going. Now, the bad word that's always, it seems like people just go crazy about, is benefit districts. Benefit districts are a great tool to get something going. Dayton Creek, I'll use them for example, they were the hot seat. Administration allowed them to go too long with benefit districts. You get 5 phases in there. That then becomes a developer's greed and administration greed. But benefit districts are a good way to get a development going, maybe in different price points, and just use it to get it going and then back off. It's going to be tough to get these different price points in this community. Land prices, development costs are the same everywhere, unless you get up in the rocky areas, DeSoto, well, even out there along 69, there's a lot of rocky areas. But other than that, it is going to be a little, so you're going to see more connected living to be able to get into these different price points. Answer your question? Not really. There's not much leverage.
I have a question. I think the issue was, what things do we need to do, and is there ways to tweak the requirements under some of our residential
Right.
developments?
Sure.
And that was simply how we got into this.
Right. And I think
that
to answer the question is, even if you do not do connected living, then you have to go smaller lots. You have to put more people on an acre due to the cost of the ground. Like I said, development's the same cost. I mean, putting the pipe and the infrastructures in the ground, it's darn near, I can take a spreadsheet from here and utilize it in Baldwin, Ottawa, Olathe, wherever. So yeah, if you're really serious about being able to accommodate, then you have to look at smaller lots. And the reason I say that so hesitantly is obviously you guys have really frowned upon, and it's your community, believe me. I do not take offense to what you guys say. You guys have frowned upon, 40-foot lots when other communities are. Now, you go in Overland Park and it's a 40-foot lot. It's still a $500,000 house, but that's a starter house up there. Did everyone hear what the average price of homes here in Spring Hill now have hit? It just came out as 502, wasn't it? 502. That's the average cost. And we've here, this morning early, I worked on 40, 50, I don't know, fourplex plans. Got them approved because, they just know that market's going to explode because there is nowhere else. And you're still talking about, my guess is $250 per unit. So, and I don't know. It's just a lot. But yeah, if you are serious, and there are developers out there that I've spoken to, and I know a lot of developers. I work with a lot of different developers that would entertain some housing that under the Commerce Department or even under the Kansas Housing Department and Act, that they would be able to fill some voids on that. But it also requires 45-foot lots, slabs. I met with the Secretary of Commerce actually Wednesday, and on the phone. I didn't physically shake his hand, but I met him on the phone, and we discussed a lot of different issues. They're looking at maybe coming out with the program to help pay for the tornado shelters again. So, but that's a $7,200 expense. Yeah. So, and I'm not disagreeing with anything. I'm just stating the facts on this. So, it'll be tough to do that without going smaller lots to achieve what our existing comp plan says.
Well, the next generation too, they just don't want to take care of.
No.
They want maintenance provided.
That's correct.
They are spending their money traveling for that, Instagram moment. That's what this next generation is doing. We're seeing it at work, the type of
Right.
models that are coming out. It's the days of just taking care of your lot, going by the wayside. It's
No,
kids now, they just want somewhere to sleep, and then they're gone. They're traveling, they're seeing the world, and they're just
Or actually the entertainment districts and
yeah.
sports games and things like that. It's interesting. I mean, my own children don't want to really own houses, and it's
Even when they start a family,
kind of heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, even when they start a family, it's all about more of a community setting and not large
Right.
ownership of property.
Yeah, I don't want to get into my theory on that, but you are exactly right.
Right. Yeah.
They don't.
No, you have one generation that lives like that, and that's all it takes. So but I'll stop at that. So I guess this is a good point, a good time right now to actually, and I think, just to interrupt real quick, we'll have an agreement, and Shockey will be able to be at a special meeting here shortly. There was just one little item on, once you get attorneys involved, you're in trouble.
He said it was his fault.
It probably is. I mean, I'm not gonna.
He told us it was his.
Yeah, I am not gonna defend him. I mean, he makes way too much. No. I'm just kidding.
If I keep
Spencer.
dragging this out, I might be able to afford a Spring Hill.
Spencer,
I'm just
I hope
gunning
we
to come
welcome
move with
you.
you guys. That's all it is.
we welcome you with open arms. But well, it's a good starting point on discussion of where do you want your community. Did everyone get to look at some of the stuff that Josh had drawn? Did we get that out?
Yes.
We sent, okay. So I've been working on that too, and this one other thing to look at and discuss and all. I've been talking to some industrial developers and things like that. The truth of the matter is, on some of it, is the downtown district has to go. I know no one wants to say it. I know it's a very hot topic, and I'll probably get yelled at on whatever. But the area really is more suitable for industrial. And I'm not talking about just the downtown. I'm talking about from Lincoln, where if you come in off of 207th and Clorox and all that, all down through that area, and probably almost to North Street. Isn't that North Street down there? South Street. I'm sorry, South Street. There you go. County line. The reason I say that is we looked at that and, you know, it's a great area for a rail spur. You're never going to change what's on the east side of the tracks. It's there to stay. And, you know,
What do you mean by that? The east side? Are you talking about like the hideaway or whatever?
oh no, I'm talking, no, big picture. The co-op, that wasteland through there.
Oh, all that
Yeah,
land.
you're right.
Because I
And-
mean, Ridgeview's eventually going to continue south.
oh, sure.
And if I've always preached, you just follow the development from Ridgeview. Whether it's 50 years from now, Ridgeview's going to continue, and that'll get developed.
Ridgeview, I agree,
That'll
but
be a section over.
on Woodland, yeah.
Yeah,
Woodland, on either side of Woodland there, that will be industrial.
right.
Your tracks, and then you have already industrial until it meets up there to about 199th, you know. But that area there, they kind of drew it and said, well, this would be great for a rail spur to come off again, expansion of this and that. It's something to think about. It does not matter to me if we do that or not, if we even look at it. But I think everyone should just at least look at it and see what I'm talking about, big picture item, you know.
I don't know. I could see those downtown being repurposed for offices, and I agree with the rail spur, but I don't know if it has to happen right there. Just because I think there is a historical aspect that you could repurpose that space. I mean, I know my kid 2 days ago went to the old whatever that's
Old
now
bank?
the gaming, yeah, it's
Mhm.
the sports center. And
Yeah.
we're gonna have birthday parties there now. and
Yeah, and I mean,
it's a great use.
if
My
that
goodness.
if that use is what we continue to do, that's fine. We just need to make sure we address it and that we keep it like that.
Yeah.
My first thought when you say that is, then what happens to the traffic that's going across the tracks?
It would all be, I mean, you know,
I mean, 40
You
years
have to
living here,
look
it's
at-
what we do with traffic now.
right. Let me put it this way. Have you been down by Edgerton Co-op?
Yeah?
All the new streets that are in, all the
'Cause that's where
bridges.
boys live, so
Okay,
yes.
yeah, you know, the bridge,
Yeah.
all that. So we can look at that just like that, as eventually there will be a bridge that goes over. You know, it'll be a two-way traffic, one bridge. I looked at, there was actually an industrial developer that looked at that area
Okay.
because they thought that they may be able to get state funds for blighted area, just to tell you the truth, and redevelop all that. The little things that we're trying to address in their minds means nothing, you know. And Edgerton's a perfect example of that, where you
That all changed really nice.
exactly.
I mean, that was.
Oh, there you
nice.
go. So that's what I'm saying. You know, there is good that comes out of correct industrial development because there's a lot of money thrown at it.
See, I think it'd almost want to happen closer to 223rd or 175th, where you have better east-west connectivity for at least not necessarily rail traffic, but you know, truck traffic, and so it's all kind of composite in one area.
Yeah, and
versus having a spur here, and then you have an industrial area up here. All
yeah, well, we weren't just. This isn't 40 acres. This is 500.
right.
So it would go to 223rd. And 223rd would be rebuilt in conjunction with all this. Because, you know, you have the lagoons are there. You have some older homes there. And actually, you know, one of them's very blighted. So it's big picture. But if we want to look at that and say, okay, no, we want to preserve this as a historical downtown area and keep utilizing it like we are and all, then we need to address that to be able to try and direct, may I say, funds to get to that area easier and improve it and things like that. You know, you go down Hale and you come up Nichols, they're one way, and you're doing this and things like that. So those are items that we need to look at. We say, okay, we are going to preserve that as downtown, enhancement district area, but here's the streets that need to be improved. And we're trying to look at big picture. Remember, big picture years ago was the glass plant. That was the edge of the city limits. We've blown past that easily. And, you know, I use Edgerton a lot because that's just absolutely exploded over there. You know all about it. So it doesn't take long to get to these areas, and we just want to make sure that, or I want to make sure that you guys have the city grow in the direction you want to. So.
Cool.
Well, we could take a break before we start our regular meeting.
Sure. And yeah, that's fine.
So let's go ahead and end the work session. for now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Meeting rolling. I'll give him a second. Are you ready, Amy? All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Planning Commission, March 2nd, 2023. First item on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. So let's stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item is roll call. Amy?
Mrs. Dobson? Here. Mr. Dutzman? Mr. Earhart?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell? Here. Mr. Aravalo?
Here.
Mrs. Dominic?
Here.
Mr. Sly?
Here.
Mrs. Squire?
Here.
Mr. Welsh? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item is citizen participation. And do we have a sign-up sheet in the back? People wanted to talk.
Nobody signed up.
Nobody signed up. This is really the time to, we want people to speak about items, anything that they're concerned about. We usually limit that to 5 minutes, try to. Sometimes I go over that, but try to keep it at 5 minutes. If nobody's signed up, we'll go ahead and go to the formal action. The formal action is, the first item is the approval of our minutes from the February 2nd. Oh, approval of the agenda, sorry, is the next item before the citizen participation. Thank you, Amy. Is there any changes to the agenda as it stands? Mr. Burton? No. Okay, if not, then we're just looking for a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes, let's see, 7-0. Citizen participation, there's nobody signed up. So now we'll go to the formal
Minutes.
commission action. So the first item is the approval of the minutes from February 2nd meeting.
We accept the February 2nd, 23 meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to approve the minutes from February 2nd meeting. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Abstain. Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-1. The next formal item is the final plat application 67-2023 Cummings Property 6 plat. Mr. Burton, you have the floor. Oh, sorry, Oak Woods 5th plat, plat 71-2023. Sorry, I can't see with my one eye, I got monovision. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this is Oakwoods. As we know it, it's down by the Aquatic Center in Harrison Street and Sycamore Drive. It's 16 acres and 55 lots. This is one that we talked about on changing the preliminary plat. If you look at first the preliminary plat that was originally, it was there were some drainage problems, and they had a street that just served one side, and there was some crossings that the state didn't like, and it just didn't work drainage wise. So they came back in in December, if I remember right, or anyway, they came back in and changed the plat to this that flows better through the whole area, and it has a better detention value up there on the track. It is 55 lots, and Oakwoods has really been, we were talking in the discussion item, Oakwoods has really been providing a very good product for a whole different price point, if I can put it that way. So I don't know if anyone's been through there or not lately, but it's really filled up nicely. Very nice looking community in that area. Nice neighborhood, let me put it that way. It meets all the requirements. Fire department, everyone's reviewed it. There's still a few things with engineering that they're working on, but it will not change the final plat except for maybe a couple of easements. The excise tax will be calculated and they'll pay it prior to this plat being signed by the mayor or going to the governing body for approval. Erosion control, I bring that up as a statement that just so everyone knows, we're really working on erosion control in these areas, in the neighborhoods and all that. We had a meeting this week on it and the inspectors are going to get a better handle on all the erosion control. So park fees, there's no real true trail system there. There are some trails that are shown and there is a trail that runs up behind some of this, but they'll be paying the $300 per lot at the issuance of a building permit. The recommendation from the staff is to approve plat 71/2023.
All right, are there any questions? If not, I think I'm just looking for a motion at this point.
I recommend approval of final plat of Oakwood, fifth plat, application plat 000071/2023 as presented.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been seconded to approve the final plat application 000071/2023 Oak Woods fifth plat as presented by staff. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. The next item is final plat application 67/2023 Cummings Property 6 plat. Mr. Burton, you have the floor. Is it okay just to leave off those 4 zeros?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. We would leave them off if the computer would let us.
Okay.
So, final plat, this is out there off of 185th Harris and it comes off of 183rd Street. This has been this area, let me put it that way, has been a good success for the community. Zone industrial, they went in and did a lot of different things. They were willing to be open-minded about it. Area detention for the whole area, and it's working out very well. A lot of people, and you probably haven't maybe really seen, but anything that the Cummins have to do, and Mr. Mitchell and Phelps Engineering, you can see they can use these lots as smaller lots because they placed an area detention in. So in site plans, and there'll be a site plan coming, in site plans, they're not wasting space for detention. And we also don't have a lot of these, what I call mosquito traps, these little detention basins. So that's just a little bit of background on that area, and it really has. I don't know if anyone's been up there lately, but it's really come along well. There's a lot of different uses in there, multitude of uses. So what we're looking at tonight is a 3.5 acre lot, and it. Let me get to the page. I apologize. It's already existing M1, and the proposed plat is a replat of lots 2, 3, and 4 that would create 2 lots instead of 3. The existing 3 lots into 2, the 6-inch water main is there. The streets are owned by the city. Street trees and landscape will be provided. Now, up there, there's a lot of street tree work and things that will occur this year. As you know, some of these industries, when they go in, it's a work in progress. So let's take Monarch there for an example. Yes, they're utilizing the facility, but they're still working on that area. As soon as they ask for an overall approval of the site plan for a full certificate of occupancy, then we'll go through and take a look at all the landscaping and make sure it's in and things like that. So there will be additional landscaping in the whole area that will be coming in. I don't know if you remember that Monarch had talked about the 2-foot berm and how a 2-foot berm works better than a 4 and 5, 6 foot berm and things like that. So there are still items that have to be completed landscape wise up in that area. Not that we're talking about Monarch, but I just wanted to let you know, and that was just a good example. We'll be preparing an improvement agreement. Maybe it's already been sent to the developer, but it will be here shortly if not. Installation of sidewalks, and that's addressed as each individual site is developed. Now, I'll talk about that real quick. Sidewalks, bless you. Sidewalks, you know, it does call for you go in and put all these sidewalks in and all, but they just get broke up. So what we're doing is we're making sure that on each site plan, the sidewalks are there, and then before they get a true CO, and then on the development they put them in. So just so you know. And the staff recommends approval of the replatting of this basically into the 2 lots. Be happy to answer any questions.
Hey Pat,
Yes.
so are they operating on a TCO then? Temporary.
A lot of them are, yes,
How long
that's
do
correct.
those last?
Well, so let's take Monarch for example. It'll last. There's going to be probably 3 TCOs there, and that'll last until that development's completed. Then we'll go in and go through the entire site plan part of it, because each building will not get a TCO unless it is built and constructed in accordance to the plans.
'Cause I guess what's the incentive for the developer to go for the CO when it's just going to cost them more money at the end of the day? Why don't they just?
Oh, that's a good question. So some of these, though, they're no different than, let's say, the communities. They get a construction note, and then they'll turn it over to a full-blown note. Those banks and all will take a look at that, and we get requests all the time from title companies and all on that.
Okay.
So, and also, Brandon and Will do a good job of going back and talking to them and things like that. And you'll see that some of them, like we just did a TCO on over there on Russell Davis. He has 1 building completed, and I talked to him about it, and I said there's absolutely no reason you can't plant the trees out along the highway. Those won't be affected by construction. So he did do that. I mean, he has a lot more trees and things to put in, but so we're trying to keep up on it, and that's a good question.
Thank you.
And actually, Jason and everyone out there's been really good. You know, we'll call them up. Jason, I was coming in one morning early, and we'd had some people that talked about the glare off the lights and things like that, the wall pack units, and I called him to put shields on them. So they've been really good to work with. That's usually how the case is when things are really rolling, you know.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
If not, I think we just need a motion at this point.
I recommend approval of final plat 67-2023 Cummins Property 6 plat as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to approve the final plat application 67-2023 Cummings Property 6 plat as presented by staff. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. The next item is a site plan application 67-2023 Cummings 12K lease buildings. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. So this is the two lots. And here's the site plan on them. They're really filling a needed void in the community. There's a lot of smaller businesses, smaller contractors, just overall smaller companies that need these 12,000 square foot type buildings. And you can see that in this site plan, that's what they've asked for or asking for, two 12,000 square foot buildings. The property is currently zoned M1, as we spoke. The right-of-way lines are identified. Everything, the consultant staff reviews, they've met all the requirements. I think there was still one easement, or there was something on a site for an easement, I believe, that they were looking at, and that may have already been taken care of. It does conform to the code, the subdivision regulations. It's obviously compatible to the surrounding area. It's customary engineering standards are being used on this and have been looked at. All the streets are constructed. The sidewalks are shown and will be constructed in this. Sanitary sewer is already available. Water will be by Water One, which is also available. The entrances will be off of 185th Terrace. And the streets are designed to accommodate truck traffic. The site plan indicates 48 parking stalls, which exceeds the amount of stalls. The park impact fee will be paid at the building permit stage. Now, they did say that dumpsters, we'd have to identify those and screen, but I believe they have them in there now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about this landscape plan.
Is it
screening.
F? It's in there. And the actual landscape and all their true design of it, you can see there could be some additional, but they do meet the minimum requirement.
Do we have the landscape plan, or
I think that what they're showing is, I don't think they're,
I don't see it in my package.
no, we do not. No.
And I don't see where the dumpster would go either.
I thought that was F, but it's not shown on there. So what we can do is go back and make sure that the landscape plan does get to us. This would be an item that can be tabled. But I would like to answer all the questions on it other than landscape.
Well, my question is just landscape because it's going to front, 169 over there, right? I mean, there's an unplatted part that's 169.
That is
west.
true.
So you
That's
have a
true
dock.
to the west.
You have a dock facing it.
Yes, that is a dock.
There's no requirement for an elevation, is there?
No, not on this. We can ask for some elevational stuff
Yeah, I mean, if we're not,
in conjunction with the landscape.
just so we know what we're looking at.
Okay.
It's a nice layout, but I just like to know screening wise and elevation, what's going to be vertical, what's that going to look like.
No questions on you can see that they're putting in quite a bit of concrete there, and then on the back part that would be a gravel type storage area.
Regional detention?
Regional detention, yes.
So Pat, you're saying
Yes.
that is south of like both of the buildings, that area that's kind of like a bunch of little circles is concrete area,
The
pavement?
it would be the areas that are,
Label I.
I used to have a pointer. It's the air, like if you're looking at the building right now, on the right side of the building, the little concrete symbols, on the left side of that, and then behind the buildings are gravel. That is correct.
Okay.
A small area in conjunction with the entire site. And there is a legend on the right-hand side of the, I don't have a pointer that works. Okay, it's not your fault.
Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in. and I-
Sure.
So if you hit control and scroll, you can zoom in. That's the easiest way.
Oh, his is clear. Mine is extremely fuzzy.
Mine is too. That's why I'm having trouble.
There's two different files, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to the other
If
file.
you're looking in the packet, it's really blurry, but there's
Huh?
separate
I thought it was. Right here.
Yeah, here.
Mine's fairly blurry on this, but it's pretty good up there. It's,
Yeah, there's a different PDF file, Pat.
So this is, but that doesn't work.
so, they do have a landscaping plan ready,
Okay.
so that we can show that.
That's still not.
has staff reviewed it.
Now, we'll take a look at
Okay.
Let's look and see though.
Right.
And I'm not saying you have to approve anything.
Right.
Let's take a look at it.
No, I like the way this is going. I just like to see.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, look at spend more time with landscape
No
plan.
worries.
this way.
Now you just have to switch the,
Get this on there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, the original site plan? Is that what you're on?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give us a high overview real quick.
All right, so you got on the landscape plan there, you got 185th Terrace North up on the screen there. So we got street trees along 185th Terrace, and also out along Webster. There's also, you can see out along Webster, a few shrubs, those smaller shrubs out by the parking lot. On the west side, that's not up against the highway. There is one 8-acre tract there still that's between there and the highway. So any screening along, along the highway would come in with that site development plan.
Are those trees inside or outside the chain link fence?
They outside, they're all outside. Yeah.
So that is a chain link fence all the way around.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a few trees there to block it.
Well,
yeah, on the,
I don't know. You're still gonna see. I mean, they're deciduous trees. So I mean, they're not evergreens. You're still gonna see the fence.
And then has there been any more resolution to the dumpster or trash enclosure where that may go?
They would go on the south side of the building, probably back there towards the gravel area, back hidden from 185th Terrace and from Webster. They'd be in the rear of the property.
Is that a raised dock, like a 4-foot dock, or
Sorry.
was that like a raised dock, like a 4-foot dock, or is it flush?
So on the you have an at-grade door and then a recessed door. So on each building, as you go, you get that bank of parking of about 6 stalls up against the building. And then right next to that is kind of a longer run into the building. That's the at-grade door. And then there's a retaining wall. And then on those very southern corners, those are recessed dock doors there.
So that parking lot is for employee use? Or would that
Yes.
be for trucks and stuff?
Employees.
Employees?
And I presume from the location of the 88 parking that the entrance is on the north.
Yeah, you can kind of see.
Yeah.
It's hard to see on this plan. The site plan shows the sidewalk.
I just put this whole thing in your guys' folders if you wanna.
Okay,
zoom in.
So you can see these sidewalks that run up to the front doors on the north side of the buildings.
So what we can do is, since Amy has sent it, but we could table this and we'll get a design on the dumpsters and the location of them, and then they've sent in some elevation stuff and all as
I
well.
guess my comment would be like after looking at the landscape plan and knowing where the front door is that you got trees in front of your front elevation. If your elevation your front elevation's the north elevation. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. I'd more of an appetite moving some of those trees on the west side to screen some of the dock and leave the north elevation exposed to the frontage of the road so you can actually see what the building is when you're driving by.
Easy enough to do.
So just shuffle some of those around.
If the, yeah, that's,
I mean, that's just a thought.
You find that hard to
I
Probably the west side, if we go outside the tree, that's where the detention pond starts
I saw
dropping.
that.
So now we're putting trees in the detention pond, which leads the problem down the road. But the ground does start elevating once you get past the detention pond, so there's just natural ground. screening that
Barrier,
changes the
right, but
elevation.
we could put some over there though, along that detention basin.
I mean, even if it's just losing a couple trees along the
Yeah,
front, I'm
yeah.
not saying
That's-
even,
Putting it
yeah.
outside the fence.
it's more or less just leaving the, in front of your, whatever it's gonna be
exposed.
exposed.
Yeah,
Even
for
if it's just deleting
aesthetic
a couple
purposes,
trees.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. We can get that.
So on the west side, there's actually gonna be, that's where the detention pond is.
Yeah, you
I-
can
There
s-
won't ever be anything built there because that's where the detention area is.
There'd be a
No.
detention, there's a low area detention, then it'll go, then there will be
There's one
buildable area
lot,
between that
yeah.
pond and the highway.
There is one more lot in there.
I agree. I think, just as, you know, Spring Hill's growing and like our boundary seems to be going further north, just to provide an even more welcoming. I think about when I drive into Ottawa off the interstate and there's that, junkyard full of like, old cars and just old junk and stuff, and it just is not a very welcoming, I guess landscaping, site to go into Ottawa, and I've always thought that was just such an eyesore. Wouldn't want Spring Hill to turn into that. I mean, this is like, we're on the edge of, this is Spring Hill, and what do we want it to look like? So yeah, I would agree. I think more landscaping and then, you know, more we can
Yeah, just put
continue
those
to do
on
that.
list, and then we'll show, and then they'll show the dumpster locations, and we'll readdress it. They'll go ahead and apply for building permit applications, obviously.
Yeah.
So if, because those are very minor details to address, so.
Yeah.
All right, so if you would table it and have them adjust the landscape, show the dumpster enclosures and all, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with building permits because it'll take us a while anyway. We probably won't have them issued before we won't have them issued before the next meeting, so it's not a problem.
All right, yeah, we're just looking for a motion.
I move to table, site plan application SP 68 2023 Cummins 12K leasing as presented by staff with, we like the addition of a landscape plan to review, the addition of the dumpster or screening of the dumpster information, possibly an elevation.
Yeah, there'll be elevations because the permit will be in our review anyway, so we can provide those.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to table the site plan application 68 2023 Cummings 12,000 lease building as presented by staff with the addition of a landscape plan, the elevations, and the dumpster location. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. The next item is site plan 69 2023 self-storage. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Okay, this is same area except it's right on the corner of just to give you an area location, you saw that they moved a house out of there, a small house, the Jensen house is what we call it. They picked it up and moved it 169 and 183rd, I'm sorry. So that's where this is located. It's 31, almost 32 acres, single lot. As you can see, that's phased out storage. They have everything sets correctly as far as setbacks and all that. They have a very intense landscape plan with this. showing that so that they would be able to protect the visual areas from 183rd as well as 169. So they've provided all the utility easements and things, the connections. It's not very intense on improvements to the area. One thing that we were talking about on this is that 183rd is going to have to be improved one of these days here. You know, we're working on that. One thing that I've not been able to speak with the proposed developer of this, but it may be a case where 183rd will be improved under a benefit district. So it doesn't affect the site plan at all or anything. It just basically affects his part of it through either a 10-year program or something like that. So it meets the zoning, the regulations, obviously, M1. It's shown actually to be all M1 in that future land use. And it has been engineered out and gone through our engineering. Sanitary water, everything's available there, all of the utilities. And we can take a good close look at it and see what, if there are any questions or anything. Amy, do you have the site or the landscape plan? Can we pull that up also? First, we'll start out here with the site plan. You can see phase 1 and then phase 2 of it. And then here is the landscape plan. And we can utilize this for some review of some site plan stuff as well. Looks like 1, 2, 6 buildings to start off. And then you can see that they really did place a lot of landscaping on there to try and accommodate what we've been hearing from the Planning Commission. The visual aspects of it.
When it says vehicular storage, what does that mean?
That would be an outside storage type use. Like there's several of them down through there that have outside storage type uses.
Like where the campers are stored?
Yes. Yes, the verbiage on that should have been a little better. I agree with that. And we will have them change that. That's not going to turn into just storing a bunch of vehicles and stuff like that. Should have been never. And I honestly, I did see that and I failed to ask them to remove vehicular. So it's not designed. There's 2 of them, Webster and then 183rd as well. The entrance off of 183rd, you can see up there in your left-hand corner. And one of the reasons it's right at that area is we looked at that and the improvements of that intersection with a turn lane and all, there could be in the future, it could be utilization of where they have to have turn lanes into there. That'll all be widened anyway. So it'll really be benefiting the city as well as benefiting this. And there's not a whole lot of traffic that comes in and out. There's 2 ways, it's a storage. When I say that, then it'll be busier than heck. But
So, what are we approving? Are we approving phase 1 and 2? Because there's things listed like future gate. Well, what's happening in phase 1 when there is no future gate? Is it just open?
no, that would be phase 1 will not have the future gate in there. I mean, it won't be. What it means, future gate, is there will be a gate put in there with phase 2. So there's options here. I mean, obviously, we're going to come back with phase 2. So really, you're just approving phase one.
Is the entire complex
the-
fenced and secured in phase one?
Yes, they're planning on putting the fence all the way around it.
Okay.
And the landscaping, because as you can see, the landscaping, it's all inclusive. It doesn't matter what the phasing is, it has to be put in. And as you can see, there's no phasing lines on, the landscape plan.
So when they
And-
want to move forward to phase two will still come before us again?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, has to. And then also, I do remember, the fire department had said something about an additional gate on the expansion of it. So,
Did they ask for a Knox box or anything like that?
no. No, it's almost, they're almost kind of phasing those out with the electronic opening stuff and all their, I think the technology here before long they'll just pull up and the fire truck will send a signal and everything will open.
As long as the power's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is proposed detention area? What is detention area?
Detention, yes. So detention is the runoff of the water
Okay.
that is created by the site.
Okay.
And they have to hold it on their property and release it at a slow rate at the same or less rate than what was already running off of
Okay.
there. This had to have their own detention area due to it's not part of the Cummins property. This is the Jensen property. Cummins property has area detention. I'm sorry, I should have explained that to you. And please ask any question, Debbie, because that's what we're here to answer them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The dump stations, do those go into the tank?
No, they'll go in the sewer. Yeah, there will be no tanks on this sewer. These are the type of uses and the type of uses that we really need to look at in the comp plan. The location of them and things like that. And actually, the type of storage within the storage, there's some of them that are being proposed right now to us that are all climate controlled, everything's indoor. It actually looks like a commercial building, so
So I'm sorry, did you already say how many stories it is?
these are single stories.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is one of the last areas to be platted in this area, for lack of better terminology, under the industrial.
So is there utilities all the way around it? I'm not seeing that on here.
No, it's not necessary. Due to the existing lots and all already are set up, and there was no necessity to have a utility easement all the way around.
So is it on the west side or the east side or?
Well, it comes up, almost everything comes up Webster,
Okay.
the east side. Everything's pretty much already there, in this development.
So I see the sanitary sewer, but I don't see where it shows the easement for it, so.
It's in an easement, I guarantee.
Well,
you.
no,
I'm
I
sorry.
know it is, but that's what
Yeah.
I said, I don't see the easement.
Yeah.
It shows sanitary sewer.
Right.
but-
And it may be a case also, similar to what we talked about on every one of them. By the time they figure it out, they have to adjust it a little bit and put it in. Water's already in there. And of course, street is, so.
Well, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
I like the landscaping of it and and we're really just approving the phase one, but the whole site plan as itself for now. Is there any other questions? If not, I think I'm just looking for a motion at this point.
I motion to recommend approval of site plan application SP 69-2023 self-storage as presented by staff.
Could I have a motion that's been seconded to approve the site plan application SP 69-2023 self-storage as presented by staff for phase one? Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Next item is lot split application 61-2022. Mr. Burton? Thanks for coming.
Thank you. So this is the A-Line Drive off of South Street. There's, back when they divided that all up and looked at the streets, and I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you. So we met with Mr. North, and he's really agreed upon a lot of items that really should have been installed. We went back through some, I did not, staff went back through some of the old site plans on things that were said that were going to be done from 1999 and 2005 and on and on and on. And Mr. North is doing it. And a perfect example is putting up the privacy fence that was required back 25 years ago, and worked with engineering on this. As you can see, there's kind of some funny easements there. On water and all, they really had utilities ran through here without easements. And we find a lot of that where I don't know how they ever, I don't know. Anyway, so Mr. Norris worked very well with us on placing the easements over the utilities that are already in, and working on the whole area as a whole. It is, in my opinion, a waste of a good site, and it will be not exactly sure. It looks like there will be a general contractor that will be in there. It's a good use of the area. So I don't know what else to say. It was platted. It was kind of platted different, and so a lot split does work here by statute and everything. It's about the best we could do on this area, honestly. As you can very well see where some of the utilities are sitting in the lot, and I'll explain it. So if you look on your far right-hand side, that's actually the property lines over there and all, and then they've moved the point of the property line up where it shows lot 2, and you can see the water line was kind of installed at just a heck of an angle there, and then you can see the other utilities that are in there. So everything now that we're aware of is now in a utility easement legally, or will be with this lot split if approved.
So you gave a special utility easement for the overhead electric?
What happened is there were no easements. And so
You're making an easement there.
That's correct.
For the overhead electric that you're going.
That's correct.
Okay.
Water, everything. You very seldom see Evergy and all have. Well, it was Kansas City Power Line, but now Evergy. Well, that was actually Westar, I think. But anyway, you very seldom see electric not in an easement, and our water, whatever.
At least the water runs parallel to the road, so. Or at least
Yeah.
parallel to the line.
guess they got it good and straight, that's for sure. Who knows how they put it in, but it's all,
It's drawn nice and straight, is what you're saying.
well, no, what I'm getting at is whoever installed it just took off. You know, you can see down at the southern end, it turns again. So, I don't know. Just kind of ran it through there, but. So Mr. North, and like I said, he really has, and then there is a note also by Mr. Miller that the public sanitary that crosses Lot 1, and there is an easement on that now. They did discover that, and the book and page. This is included the book and page, and didn't tell me the book and page, but he did discover it. This was tough. I mean, you know, the title companies, it was just tough to find everything. It was tough to follow the trail on how it was split and how it wasn't split and stuff like that. But he's met all the requirements, and staff recommends approval of it.
Any other questions?
No, he owns several pieces. Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know if
Yeah,
you'd
there's.
gotten rid of some of it.
He did. Some of it has been sold and purchased by different entities, and just, I don't know. So we'll clean it all up, though. I mean, not in the sense of moving all the cars and all that and cleaning up the paperwork on it and the lots and all. And like I said, he is putting up a privacy fence and things like that that was required back some time ago. So
Didn't this used to be a donut hole in the middle of our city that was not annexed in?
no, most everything,
It seemed like there was a spot there that was not part of the city limits.
yeah, most everything that occurred in here was by the city guidelines. But there, now just south of there was a portion into there.
Okay. I knew there was a part
This
that was not part of the city.
But
But
this,
that's not what we're obviously not talking about that.
no, that's correct.
Well, are there any questions? I think at this point, we're just looking for a motion then.
I move approval of lot split application L 61-2022.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to approve the lot split application LS 61-2022 as presented by staff. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Sorry.
Well, you knew I was gonna say aye, because I put the second aye.
Sorry, I should have waited.
It's okay,
Let's see. Oh, election of planning commissioner, chair and vice chair. There's a sheet here that, and I'd like to first make it clear that I think I'm ready to retire from this, and so I really don't want to be nominated chair or vice chair at this point. Now, what we'll do is request nominations, and a person can nominate themselves or herself. And you don't have to accept a nomination. You can decline it. So that's not difficult. All right, if you're not here. Oh, can you? Can you?
Yeah.
So you can nominate.
That's not. He's throwing things the next meeting. Notice I'm looking at you, not them.
That's right. I guess if they're, so if they're not here, you can still actually nominate them. Okay, well. And then, so really it's just, then we have nominations and then we try, I'll say, is it open for more nominations or not? And then we vote and then we take roll call. And we do the same thing for vice chair. Okay, so I guess I'd like to open the floor up for nominations.
I would like to nominate Mr. Mr. Arvalo for chair.
Are there any other nominations? No, okay,
I would like to nominate myself for chair.
okay. We have,
I've been chair
Troy
before,
Mitchell,
so.
yeah, Troy's been the chair for a while. And we've got Ronaldo here. So now the process is so now we start the voting, on the left, right? So I need to close the meeting, though. There's no other nominations, correct? There's no other nominations, so.
So, yeah, and you all can choose to do silent ballots if you want. If we have a minute to grab some paper, I think, but it's kind of up to you all.
Oh, silent ballot? Okay.
You can if
that's
you
fine.
If you'd prefer, if you don't mind, I don't care. I
With
just,
two, but if you don't mind, it's no big.
I'm fine with the silent ballot.
Oh, you want a whole piece of it? I didn't know if you wanted to chop them up.
Oh, good lord. You want us to write a paragraph?
Here, I'm gonna, oh, there, I guess, yeah.
Are your eyes that bad?
Mine too.
You want us to write our own paper?
No, don't tear it, just turn it forward. So
Can I write it tiny?
So the two are Mr. Arvalo and you.
That's all, yeah.
I read it. Every folding a certain way. Airplanes.
Yep.
Just fold it in half.
And then into. Bottom of these.
You know, if there's a tie, you gotta do it again.
I read that. Yep. All right, another one. Here's the votes.
Please.
I kinda like that secret.
We all pass it down.
Call for a recount.
Are there any hanging chads over there? Now you tally up the votes, right? And disclose the number for each candidate here. Nomination, sorry.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
We have Mr. Mitchell as chair.
Do we nominate a vice chair then?
Yes.
So then
Okay.
Do you want your papers back?
Sure.
I nominate Rodolfo then.
There we go.
Yeah.
I've got some more, I got more paper,
The
guys.
other one is our vice.
That's what I'm thinking.
So we have Ronaldo as vice chair being nominated. Any other nominations?
I was gonna nominate Mr. Earhart.
No. Thank you, but no thanks.
Okay.
I appreciate
Very
it. Flattering
You're
and
on there.
if you want, then you can just vote.
Yeah, since there's only one nomination, let's go ahead and,
Need a silent vote.
start the voting. Just say aye.
Okay, aye.
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 Motion, Ronaldo's voted in 7-0 for vice chair. All right, so now we have chair and vice chair. So every year, remember the chair starts April through March, and we all do the voting in the beginning of March. So we'll try to remember that every year. It's in the bylaws too. Now we're going to, let's try to hurry here, get to the,
Do we have to vote for the secretary too? Or is that just a given?
just
Because
kind
it
of
used to
give.
be we had to vote secretary.
it's an indefinite appointment by bylaws.
Okay.
Okay.
It didn't used to be that way.
Can we vote a treasurer in this time? Darn.
All right, let's see, the next, reports. Discussion, sorry, is there any discussion?
Sorry. The first thing is the rezonings did pass 207th and Ridgeview. So congratulations on those. And the developer is really excited to get going, as well as a builder. So we'll be seeing something out there soon. And remember, one thing that I was trying to explain also is, remember, these projects they're 5 years, 6 year projects. It's gonna take a year to get streets in, you know, so.
Do you remember what the vote was at council?
It was in the unanimous. Well, let's see. Yes, it was. It was on that.
Saying yes.
Yes, it was. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I forgot to introduce, we do have a member of the governing body with us tonight, so. Then the other discussion that I wanted to do is, this is something that we talked about, that you had brought up on trying to accommodate all types of price points, rents, and things like that. So what we've been talking with this company for a little while now, and we told them that that this body is very good about taking a look at things and seeing if it fits the area and what before the rezoning and things like that. There's no use in going through a whole bunch of stuff if it's not what everyone anticipates to be at that area. So as you can see, they provided a layout of this property and what they had proposed to build on it in this phase of it. Now, it's safe to say future phases will probably be looking about like the same, okay? And no, they did not put a bunch of landscape on it and things like that. You know, we will have to go through that, and they're very well aware of that at a site plan or, site plan approval process on that. So this is a basic layout showing basically what they want to do. They provided elevations. If you can kick to the elevations, thank you. You can see that they're 3 stories, and that this is just a general, and it's not a general, it's a pretty good layout of what they really want to do with a future pool and things of that nature, or playground and clubhouse. So, it is a representation of what they want to do. We like to hear thoughts, comments, everything else. One of the representatives is here tonight, can answer any questions that you have on this.
So each one of those that look like a home is one of these units?
No.
No, it's a whole unit there. You can.
When you go at that other picture.
Right, but
They're already existing homes. Those homes that are on there are
Mhm.
already
Right.
So you wanna put an apartment complex?
In front of that.
That's correct. Along
in that whole-
223rd. That strip of ground through there.
I'm not opposed to it because I've said, and this goes back to our discussion earlier about creating density where the commercial nodes are, and if this is
That's correct.
where the commercial is going to be happening, you create density, and plus you're going to have 84 parking stalls right there, so possibly 84 cars. You don't want them driving deep into your neighborhoods. You'd rather have them quick access on the 223rd. So again, it's quick, easy access for 84 cars and 84 units, or however that comes out to be.
Amy, can you go back?
And I wanted to, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to talk about that. If you remember on the east side of the street there, the east side of Victory along 223rd, that is a commercial node.
Mm-hmm.
It's already zoned commercial. We took a look at it. And so then also just right up the street, you have a full blown commercial node.
Mm-hmm.
And there on the north side of the street here shortly, you will have a chance to look at and decide on some more commercial. And that's coming up soon.
Can I ask, is any of this public? I mean, cause if I owned, I'm sorry, what do I need?
You need public.
Okay. I mean, if I was one of those homeowners, I'd be pretty upset about apartments going in.
What is it currently zoned?
Commercial.
It's zoned commercial.
Yeah, we could go in right now and build a strip center.
There's a difference though
That's
between a scooters and a full-blown apartment complex. I mean, one of those homes has a swimming pool.
Yeah, no, this is not public comment yet. This is to get a feeling of how the planning commission looks at it. And now this is not probably going to stop them from coming in and especially with, depending on how we decide tonight and putting it onto the agenda. When it goes onto the agenda, yes, the public it's full blown, public can come talk about it and everything. This is a discussionary item. It's not any type of approval. We've been trying to do that on, let me put it, maybe possibly controversial things,
I just don't think. it's gonna be-
and then we're also working on the comp plan.
I think you're gonna have a lot of upset citizens and I would be highly upset.
Well, let me put it this way also, and it is your vote and everything is how you want to look at it. I remember when Blackhawk Apartments got voted down 3 different times. The developer actually got sued on it, and he just didn't give up. And it has become a great asset. And we take a look at it and say, well, yeah, a lot of people live there. No, the asset was we can see the rise in sales tax revenues as well as all of those shops are full now, or all the open spaces. Now, I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm just giving an example.
I'm not against
Of it,
apartments.
so-
I've lived in an apartment before.
Sure.
It's a great place for young people or people who, just at any stage, I guess, in life. But I just think about the people who live across the street from that who've already come to meetings and complained about even just the development of this land. But I want to say that I guess when I voted for approval of the original plat, I personally was not under the impression that they were going to be putting or considering apartments there. I know what I will be voting if it does come before, because I just think, we have to stand up and support the people who already live in those homes. And I don't think it's gonna do a lot of good for them, for the value of their home, or even just for their, experience aesthetically. Like I said, if I lived in one of those homes, I'd be hot.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's, I mean, if that's, and I would not want to put words in the
Yeah.
mouths of those community people there.
I mean, you're talking $350,000-$400,000 homes at least that are sitting there.
And I will tell you, the one with the pool is an economic development director. So
I'm sorry.
the one with the pool is an economic development director for Franklin County, or Miami County. I'm sorry, Miami. I'm sorry, Miami County. So
So he's okay with it?
she is.
She's okay with it? Oh, boy.
But well, I mean, I think that what we look at as a whole, and we have to open it for discussion for public, and we probably will have some people. There always is. I think that overall, and I'm just telling you what I know and see is that to attract more commercial down there, it's like the one over here on Victory that we voted on. When I was talking to them about this, they're like, oh, well, that might speed up our plans 2 years.
I can see these guys looking at this, depending on their personalities and what they're wanting in their lifestyle. I can see them saying, I don't want anything there because that's what they're used to.
Exactly. Everybody wants that.
Right? Okay. But at
And the
same
property
time,
is for sale.
I can see them saying, I'd rather have neighbors there than I would the trash from multiple commercial businesses in there. I mean, when you stop and think about the trash that goes from Price Chopper and the businesses, and I'm not saying it's on purpose, I'm just saying it happens. People get out of their car and they ruffle a piece of paper out of the trash, getting in and out of the businesses, BB's and Price Chopper and Subway and all of that trash that blows. If you put in 2, 3, 4 commercial businesses along there, maybe they would rather have neighbors than the commercial businesses. Others might rather, hey, it'd be great if a Starbucks was there. I could drop out my back door and go get a Star. I mean, I can see
I can see, yes.
both people going both ways on
Yes.
that.
I guess, and I think this is a great discussion here because the question then is, where is an appropriate location to put apartments adjacent to homes, commercial?
Sure. Well,
It
my
always,
question is-
it's got to butt something somewhere, sometime.
well, we've got 6,000 homes that have been approved in the last, 6 months, a year? I mean, that's a lot of homes.
Yeah, my wife's in real estate and the
Yeah.
inventory is very low. They need more.
The interest rates are still very high.
Doesn't stop
I
us.
don't,
Buying them.
if there's an apartment building to be built, I just don't know that it's in the back of somebody's neighborhood. In their backyard, they've been living there for years and weren't anticipating that this was gonna go in, so,
where would
I
the
guess if,
appropriate location be?
I don't know. I mean, that's part of, I guess, the new comp plan, to be considered, and again, Josh, I didn't tell you, but I haven't been able to make it, I work till 6:30, and I have let that be known that I can't be here at 6.
That's fine.
But at any rate, I just, I guess if all of those people in that neighborhood come forth and say, sure, build an apartment complex, then I'll be on board with it. But I think if they come forward and say no, then I'm going to be in support of that. Because we have to support our existing citizens. They moved here, 20 years ago, whatever, built their homes, with the anticipation that, number one, they probably, like me, weren't thinking, oh, the cows across the street are going to disappear someday and we're going to put townhomes there. You just don't anticipate those things, when you're a young person building your home. And these are beautiful homes. These are beautiful homes. I have a friend who lives over there. She's not in this cul-de-sacs, these cul-de-sacs, she's a little bit further down. But that's just so sad, I think. I can't anticipate or imagine that the majority of the people in that subdivision are gonna be okay with that, nor the people across the street.
How long has this been zoned commercial? Was it zoned
Forever.
commercial before those houses were built?
Oh, yes. And in conjunction. Now, and across the street, I'm not exactly sure where you're talking about.
Okay, so there's no homes across the street?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There are no homes across the street, yes. Now, Caddy Corner, there are a few in the county there, but that's back somewhere there. But no, you're,
Okay, it's a little bit further down, sorry about that.
Right there.
Um,
No.
The last couple meetings.
Yes.
Approved that new sub.
Sure.
Right.
The new houses back here and then the commercial right here.
Well, and that's the thing, I guess, when they go into these places, whether they're new homes that are just being built or whether they're existing homes, and it's happened across the city of Spring Hill, it's not a new thing, it's an old thing. Been in my house 40 years, been through this. You don't think that, but it happens. What do they think's gonna go there? It's not gonna stay empty forever. So something's gonna go there. It's just a matter of whether it's gonna be
This is
people or businesses.
This is real similar to like what Pat just said to Blackhawk. And it was zoned commercial too.
that's correct.
And there was a lot of people against it as well. Same as what Debbie's bringing up. So and like you said, it brought up a lawsuit too, right?
Yeah, because
Blackhawk makes more sense to me, the position of
Well,
it just doesn't.
But I want to finish. So it turned out pretty well though. It's a great apartment area. I mean, so far, it's so good because we have a good developer that did it. And so it hasn't been as detrimental as everybody had thought at that time, right? And that's just my opinion, and believe it or not, I was against it too.
Yeah.
And it turned out okay.
oh, what was interesting about Blackhawk is that they went to put a car dealership in there and could have very easily gone in there in the C zoning.
Right,
And the neighbors fought that.
right.
And it's like, well, what do you want? And so it led to lawsuits and things of that nature, just some background on everything.
And I think we need to get out of this idea because we all deal with it. This NIMBY, not in my backyard thing. When we go through the comp plan, we have to come up with a vision because none of us are going to be in Spring Hill forever. we have to develop a vision of what we want our community to look like for the next generations. Zach, and like in my opinion, it's creating density near commercial areas, so it's a walkable community. You don't have to drive your car everywhere. That's why I think this is a good one. I totally understand where you're coming at, saying these people don't like in their backyard. Well, they might move a year later, and what's it matter now? Now these people bought a house with an apartment in their backyard. So this whole NIMBY thing, I want to try to get away from that, because that's what we're constantly fighting, is this not in my backyard development, and start to promote this vision of Spring Hill about this community, a walkable community, a holistic community, not a segregated community of this neighborhood and this multifamily use here, and they can't intermingle with each other. I think it needs to be like it's like a fabric, if you will, and we have to weave it correctly and appropriately. And like I was saying earlier, if not here, then where? You're going to have to start it somewhere. And I think adjacent to commercial is a very entirely appropriate use of that space.
I've had 4 teachers. I mean, I know we go back to this teacher thing, and I know that we have visited the kids that want to pop into their home and go travel. They don't want to mow yards. They
Right.
don't want to do all that. I've had 4 teachers come and ask me at the high school since the Wiswell property.
Yes.
What does that mean? Can I finally get into a home
Right.
now in Spring Hill under $200,000?
That's correct.
Because on a teacher salary, I cannot buy a home in Spring Hill, and I'm tired of driving to Spring Hill. I can't get an apartment. I'm
there's
on
nowhere to
a
live.
year and a half waiting list to get an apartment.
And that is correct with Black Hawk. It's full on the waiting list.
So, and that's why
That's
I'm
right.
asking, what do we do to change the ticket prices and get people back in Spring Hill that want to be vested in our community? They want to work here, they want to teach here, and we can't get them here.
Right. And this,
I know, I just still disagree with the whole teacher thing, and I respect you, Cindy, but I know plenty of teachers who live in my neighborhood, who live in, lots of the neighborhoods,
But they
that
make
are
two
surrounding.
teacher salaries.
that's
On
correct.
teacher salaries, you betcha.
Two.
Two salaries.
Okay.
All 4 of these were single salaries.
Yeah, they're tough.
I couldn't afford to buy a home until I was 35. If you're 23 years old and you can't afford a home, I'm sorry.
But where are they going to
But-
live? Is
Well,
the
that's why you
point.
have apartments.
I think that's what I don't.
We do have
wanna get-
apartments, and I just don't, we approved a whole bunch of townhouses just across the street from me based on the same argument. And these affordable homes across the street from me based on the same argument. I just don't know how many more homes we have to keep approving that are considered affordable. I mean, I was a social worker.
Okay,
I know, we can always go down this road, right? But I'm tired of everybody saying, one population of people in the city can't afford a home here. There's lots of people. There's people who are in trailer parks. I mean, I don't know, but it's not our responsibility to build affordable homes for all of these people. And if it is, I don't think this is the spot for it. So I know this isn't a public vote. You asked for discussion.
That's correct.
No,
No,
that's
that's
it. We need to get
exactly
everybody's
what we
opinion.
want.
that's,
Exactly what we want.
But that's
So-
exactly where our phone conversation went. Is we do need to do.
That is-
in our opinions when we were having the conversation, because other communities do have, and I've lost the group name, the housing group, and Spring Hill doesn't have it.
Right, and it's
and
called,
we are
well,
taking
we
care of
used to
all of
call
that.
it affordable housing, and now it's obtainable housing.
Aren't we building apartments across from the high school?
There is an
Yeah.
area there for that.
And they're not going to
So-
be affordable.
No,
But these
this,
are gonna be affordable?
yes, and I can,
Behind a
I can have them, well, we can address that. If you, that was my next point. If you would like to hear that this is, affordable, and it would be geared towards single teachers, single firefighters, single police officers. You brought up a point is, I try and look in the best interest of everyone. I live in a very, very large house, but I still look out for everyone as far as looking at this and things like that. That's why I wanted to bring this project to you, and they can discuss a little bit on what the attainable measure of this is.
Can you also speak to whether, are they two-bedroom apartments, are they
He can,
three-bedroom?
yes, he can.
Yeah, excellent.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Austin Cack. I'm a developer for Overland Property Group. We're the ones proposing this development. I think, I guess there's a couple questions there, and I'll try to kind of answer them one by one. So we go through a like Kansas statute program that places a covenant over the property that restricts it for affordability for an extended period of time. And so the way that those are measured are by area median incomes. So for Spring Hill, a family of four, it's kind of a unique situation being wrapped in so close to the Kansas City metro, but a family of four, the area median income at an average level is $97,000 per year. So our units are restricted from anywhere to 30% to 60% of those incomes. So people making anywhere, rounded up to $100,000, anywhere from like $30,000 to $60,000 is the income restriction for the property. And I know that you hear income restriction in a lot of people's minds. The first thing they think is Section 8. These are not Section 8 properties. This is a completely separate program. They're all privately financed. We have investors on the back end, lenders, and all of that. So on the attainable side, I think the easiest way to kind of grant the picture of what attainability and affordability looks like is to put it in the same context that like a home price would be in the area. And so I think, again, this is conceptual. So, this would go through public comment, as Pat had mentioned, and, we would get, investors and lenders on board to figure out exactly what makes sense. But from a price point perspective, I think you could equate these in terms of the monthly payments from anywhere to like, $125,000 home up to, $225,000 is really the main kind of spread of affordability that we would be looking at. As to like the unit mixes and the unit counts, it's floating right now that they can change and move around. This is what we call a family style apartment complex. So it's really aimed at, anywhere from, individuals that are on, single incomes. Those tend to be the more income restricted ones. Those can be, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom apartments, and then all the way up to 3 bedroom. We wouldn't go much larger than 3 bedroom. I think the requirement that we have is 25% of them have to be 3 bedroom, but for the most part, they are 1 and 2 bedroom units where we're trying to prioritize people that are on either fixed income or limited income or a single income. So a lot of times in most jurisdictions, as Pat had mentioned, and I think as Cindy had mentioned, teachers that are on single salaries, a lot of entry-level city employees tend to qualify for these properties too. Firefighters, police officers, those are really the people that ultimately these are targeted at. And I guess the only other thing that I would kind of add for context is I think I had heard mentioned in the comp plan that I think the average home price was $502,000, or that was like the average sale price in Spring Hill. What we've seen in other communities is kind of something similar where people that have been in a community for a very long time end up getting priced out by new construction that comes in. So a lot of times, we do a lot of development in Colorado in a lot of like people call them resort towns. And you end up with like local populations who have been there for a very extended period of time that get priced out by, the more expensive homes that are in the area. And then kind of on the flip side, I think it was mentioned as well, people coming into the community, a lot of the younger population where they might be single, they might have a fixed income. They're early in their careers. They don't have a whole lot of savings, backed up. This is really a path to home ownership for them. So, Debbie, I think you had mentioned that you bought your first home at 33 or 35.
Sure.
I think, honestly, these programs help a lot with situations like that because it gives the residents an opportunity to build up that savings and have, an affordable housing in the area that they work, and it gives them a chance to kind of build that up over time. So definitely am hearing all of the comments that you guys are bringing forward, and I can answer any questions. But absolutely, I think, you guys and the public ultimately have to be a part of this conversation. So I appreciate you guys taking it for discussion, and we'll go from there.
I do have another question. So it does say future phase.
Yeah.
So how many apartments total are you planning?
So I think right now this initial phase is 42 units. A lot of the subsequent phases that we do ultimately come down to the performance of the property and kind of what the community can support. So I think, you know, if I had to, you know, read the crystal ball at this point, normally when we do a subsequent phase, it matches the first phase. So I think this property is a little bit larger than what we normally would kind of tackle in a single phase. I think you probably have 3 phases here ultimately, and those would probably be, you know, another 40 to 50 units and then another 40, 50 units after that. I think the one thing that I will add for context there is we usually can't go and do a subsequent phase until the original phase is complete and leased up. And that, you know, can take a period of, you know, 1 to 2 years. So it really comes down to what does the community need at that point in time. And then we try to plan on a parcel this big, we try to plan around a future phase if it's necessary. And if it's not, then we, you know, we can kind of address the different things that come up at that point.
The other thing that I keep, you know, I guess, requesting or mentioning is swimming pools, because there's just not enough. So if you're going to have an apartment building that's going to have this many kids possibly in it, because your 3-bedroom units are going to have families.
Yeah.
You know, there needs to be somewhere for them to go.
Absolutely.
And our swimming pool is not big enough. Our aquatic center, and it's also crossing a major highway.
Absolutely.
Major street. Sorry, not highway, but it's very busy.
Yeah, that's the question I'd have. Is there a way to connect that to, you know, Victory? Is where Victory leads to the aquatic center, right? Yeah. Is there a way to make that safe?
Well, yeah.
We're getting down the road, but
Don't let
it's
the
still a
chicken run
question.
across the river.
Well, in the school, it might
But
not qualify for school bus.
Well,
I mean, that's
yeah.
considered too.
As you know, we're studying Victory and Webster for realignment of Webster and an improvement of Victory. There is some possible development and platting that will go on the Sudhart property. I'm going to call it. It's right across the street there with the ponds and all that. And in conjunction with that, we will plan on the realignment of Webster and the improvement of Victory. And obviously those, and you know, we're talking about 223rd signal lights and everything else. The thing about it is, I mean, they can put a crossing there, but they're not responsible for anything else. And the community just has not done that. I don't want to get back on that trip, but you know, we are planning a signalization at Victory and 223rd, and probably, I don't know, and people don't call me or text me or anything. As far as Jefferson could be a roundabout area, and all those areas would have to have safe crossing to it. Yes. Plans. Yes, it does. And one thing that I want to say is it's interesting listening to outside money coming in the community. We look at our community as it's it, you know, where everybody wants to come here and things like that. And that is not a true fact. It is not. You know, we have these investors are looking at this and saying, well, I don't know if we can, if more than 40 units, and in our minds, we say they'll fill up quick, you know. So that's something I wanted to bring up is we're fortunate in a way that there are larger money developers and things like that, even looking at our community to come into, you know. So that's, and anybody that has any questions, we can still address them here, so.
I guess I do have another question. Do you know which school district that falls into? Because that would be a concern too. It's
not
1.3.
The school district is informed of every plat.
All the
not our
all the
concern.
schools will be.
I'm sorry, they're all the same district, but I mean, which school?
Okay,
Is
hold
it
on.
We have no
Creek?
idea.
Yeah, hold on. The elementary schools are going to be, they're already pretty underpopulated except for the one in town. So they're
I just
kind of
mean
actually
driving.
trying to get.
I just mean
trying to-
busing.
There's plenty of capacity is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I just mean busing.
I don't know.
So will they, if they go to Wolf Creek, they would qualify for busing. If they don't go to Wolf Creek and they go in Spring Hill Elementary, they'd be required to walk across that street then.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they,
like I said, safety measures will
They would bust.
address with all that project. You're right. I understand.
At this
Yeah.
point, I think they're Wolf Creek,
Are they?
I think, because
I-
Blackhawk's Wolf Creek.
Well, and I
Oh, is
think,
it really?
what's the development further, east from here, just, Sweetwater Creek?
Sweetwater Creek?
I think it's Sweetwater Creek.
Sweetwater is.
Sweet,
Yeah.
Wolf Creek, or Blackhawk is sweet.
That's-
Blackhawk
Is Wolf Creek.
is Wolf Creek, and I do think that Sweetwater Creek is Wolf Creek, so I would think that this would be Sweetwater.
So this is
Wolf
all,
oh,
Creek,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so close.
this is awesome discussion for our comp plan. And,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Debbie, like, if 6 o'clock doesn't work, because I think we want you there
Yeah.
at the committee there, like, should we pick a different day at 7?
And that's what
instead of
we,
6? Because 6 can,
Yes.
6 can be a struggle for many people.
oh, and it is for me if I have testing or something like I did tonight or today. So, yeah, the study sessions, we will start later, and we'll have a contract.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I'd be willing to come in on Saturdays at 7, like
Well,
somebody
And,
else
and we
wanted.
are talking about
But-
Saturdays, yes.
Yeah.
We will
I
have
just
some.
hate missing, and I can't, you know,
That's fine.
Right.
I have my
I
own
understand.
private practice.
Well,
I can't get
thank
on.
goodness, we really haven't started with consulting,
Okay.
so.
oh, and I wanted to thank you for the explanation.
You got
there. It was
PTO, right?
Very thorough and appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And again, we try to be as involved in the communities that we go into as possible. So like any questions, if anything ever comes up, you can call myself and I can give you guys my information. Any questions that need to be answered at any time.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with
Remember.
one of my pet peeves.
Yeah.
What are we, what's the storm shelter for these apartments?
We don't typically do a basement. I believe the state requires some sort of storm shelter. So we can incorporate items like those as needed. We're
If
totally
you build it,
flexible.
we're not gonna need it, so please build it.
Yeah.
I mean,
A lot of these things, again, I think that's a good point that you kind of bring up as part of the conversation. The main thing that we're trying to get kind of moving towards is like, what are the things that are the most important that we need to incorporate? If it's a swimming pool, like if we know that up front, that can make its way into the plan. So it's just a matter of like getting some of these items out as early as possible. That way we can plan for them and have a plan to address them when ultimately we come forward for approval. Because I think, as Pat had mentioned, that's the plan for us, is to come forward for approval. So anything we can do to help get there, we're more than happy to
we had
address.
to go through this town in a major ice storm cleanup. I don't wanna have to go through it with a tornado that flattens it.
Yeah,
So the more things like this that we put in that have some type of storm shelter that people can get to,
yeah,
it just makes,
yeah,
We
absolutely.
can incorporate it in the clubhouse along with their cameras.
My nitpicking thing, can we move the dumpster so it's not at the entrance?
you're not close enough.
But if you add all these other amenities in, is it gonna change the cost for?
So it won't. It's kind of a loaded question. It won't materially change them. I mean, we are required to operate under those income limits. So the AMIs for the area don't change if we add things. So the rents don't tend to translate. Now we can't go add, a bunch of stuff. Then it makes the entire development economically infeasible. So part of it is, when we secure the investment from our investors, it's explaining to them what's involved. And usually, once we get to that point, that's where it's really hard to make changes. So as long as we can plan for it and it's not, a major ask, then, it really doesn't end up having a material impact on the rents at the end of the day.
That's what I was worried about, is if you do all this and then it becomes unaffordable.
Well,
Yeah.
I can appreciate the affordability of it because I can't afford a $500,000 house.
what it can do, and honestly, is it may drop some investors out, and hopefully there will be other investors that pick that up. But yes, eventually it may get to a point that no investor wants to take it, even under the umbrella of the program. So as far as a storm shelter, it's usually fairly easy to incorporate into a clubhouse by using concrete walls and things like that, ICM blocks and things. So, yeah,
You need that.
yeah, we'll get those cameras for you.
I really, not sitting close enough.
But anyway, I guess the overall is for them is if they can, and we realize that there's still public comment and things like that. But as far as the overall of it, they proceed forward with some rezoning and things of that nature. They're not. It's not an approval by any means, but they just wanted to take the temperature of it and make sure that it wasn't something that was just going to be blown up immediately and we waste our time on, because we have a lot going on. Okay. Any questions for us?
I don't think I have anything. Again, I'm available by. I think Pat has my information, but we can communicate that. If you guys have any questions at any point, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer them. We're pretty open book when we come to the way we operate things. So, any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you guys so much.
And just so you know, I get calls all the time. There's a bunch of state programs out there. There's a lot of rural economic development programs and things like that. In speaking with them and their company and things like that, I felt like that it, the attitude that they had towards it and just strictly saying exactly what it was at the very beginning, the program that it is, and that they're going to be taking a safe stance on it by not just going in and building 130 apartments and things like that. I thought that was a pretty good approach, and that's why I feel like that they will do what they say, and we can make some requests of them, and they would stand up to those requests. So I try not to just bring everything that comes across every day. So, okay. The only other thing I have is we look forward to the next meeting. There's quite a bit on the next meeting, commercial wise, and some preliminary plating stuff and some different discussional items that from one end of the city to the other. And the other thing that I do like is that we are seeing now some sort of attractiveness of Miami County. The Merritts were very stubborn and just kept pushing through it to have that development in Miami County, and we don't get that very often. And this was something that we've tried a lot of different things for Miami County, and this came along. So, and there are some others getting ready to come, so that's good, very good. All right. Well, we should have a contract with Shockey. As soon as we get the contract, we'll set up a special. Well, sure, but we get the. Oh, okay. We'll get the contract, but we will be setting up some special meetings, and I forgot all about that.
Well, you keep in fact, Debbie
body thing
can't be here at 6, and you're having trouble too. So
we'll.
Should we talk about that now though? When you want to change?
Well, we might as well talk about it when we get a date.
Oh,
we're gonna have to send some dates out, and then I think those dates will keep coming back and finally get a date and be at 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So at this point, there's no future meetings planned. So 2 weeks from now, there's no 6 o'clock meeting on Thursday.
No, because we still have to go through that. No, we still have to go through that. What is it? Governing body. Yeah, I forgot about it.
And you'll send out something to Troy here, and you'll contact Troy and then send out when the new date is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We won't bother you.
Troy.
I know it did. Thank you all very much for listening to this.
All right.
And I really think these are good discussions and conversations.
Yeah, excellent. Are there any other announcements from commissioners or staff? If not, I just need a motion to adjourn. The motion to adjourn has been seconded. Start the voting on the left.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
You did it.